Hello and welcome. I'm your host Elizibar. We're going to talk about some stuff I alluded to a little bit in my How to Make a Good Crowdfund Update videos, which that turned into like 4 videos, and I didn't think it would. Like, that was absolutely wild how that all went down. But inspiration strikes. Inspiration struck here. And it's in his sentence, the clause that's after the colon. If your answer to the below question, which is make a crowdfunded comic impossible to pass up, is already completed, ready to ship, you're missing out on what crowdfunding actually is. I would phrase it differently. It's not a store. You can use it like one, but it's not. Crowdfunding is kind of an experience. And you as a creator, it offers some advantages. One of those advantages is where it lets people follow along with what you're doing. See those videos I was talking about where I talked about things I liked that different creators were doing? It lets people follow along with what you're doing. It deepens the relationship. It gives the person that paid for your product bonus material because they get to follow along. They get to see how the product changes and evolves. They could even theoretically give feedback on the dang thing you're making. That's pretty incredible. It means you're not just making a comic book and handing it out. You're making a comic book, or, you know, Ron Popeil's super pocket knife or whatever. Like, whatever, it doesn't matter. You're making this thing. You're letting people follow along. They become invested in your product, which makes them somebody who has a relationship with you, which means that they are more likely to pay attention to you next time you're crowdfunding something. And who knows, you might just get a good idea out of it. Now, some people, they don't go that way, but I know that there are creators who do interact in very positive ways like this, and it helps make the product more interesting than the product would be on its own. Yeah, that's thing number one. Crowdfunding is an experience, not just a store. Thing number two, I'm advocating for backers to choose which books get made and which don't. Okay? You might remember I have said in the past, and it wasn't a recent video, and it might not even have been in a video, it might have just been on Twitter, maybe it was on a stream I was on or something, but crowdfunding gives you something amazing for free. You're like, what's it give me for free? I got to do all this work. Look, yeah, you got to do your part. We'll talk about that in a second. But what crowdfunding is free market research. Do you want to know if people want to buy your product? Run a crowdfund. If it funds, people want to buy your product. If it doesn't fund, people don't want to buy your product. It's that simple. It really is that easy. $1 billion corporations out there, the Disneys of the world, the Sonys of the world, the whatever automotive companies are still independent, I guess the Ford Motor companies of the world, pay millions of dollars every year to do market research. They do a lot of it because they want to find the product that is interesting enough to the largest pool of people to sell. That's it. You know what crowdfunding does? It says, hey, here's this product. Are you interested in it? And then people go and they take a look at it and they might be interested or not. Now you're thinking to yourself, yeah, but that sounds like a lot of work. Well, there's a lot of discussion in multiple threads spraying off of this topic in every which direction. Like, we ought to just bring back discussion forums because that would be a lot more orderly than this chaotic Twitter microblogging mess of this discussion. Yeah, creativity is difficult. You got to put in some work. Do you know what happens if you don't put in some work? Oops. I actually have to rewind a little bit here. I let it play too far.
For Maxi, in fact, because of how cheap he did issue them.
Oh, let me just fast forward a little bit.
Good friend.
Here we go. This is the important part.
And, but even past that, so I ran that first campaign, and let's say the first campaign, $10, right? No social media, none of that. I was just like, oh, I'll just put it up and see if the platform itself will do some work. Platforms itself never does any work. Do not count on Kickstarter. Do not count on Indiegogo. Do not count on Crowdfunder to get your book funded. That was one of the first lessons I learned, and it is so very relevant still. People complain about their things being shadow banned. Well, that's not much different than folks who aren't shadow banned.
Okay, we're going to stop there. So all he's saying here is, hey, if you just run a campaign, it's valueless. Like anything you want to do, like anything in the world that you want to do, you have to put in a little bit of work. And once you put in that little bit of work, guess what you get? You get a platform that people can pay for a product. You get people telling you whether they like your product or not. Somewhere in this discussion thread, somebody had said something like, hey, I would rather a comic book creator fail with their product after funding 8 pages as opposed to failing after they fund 32 pages and nobody wants their book. That's the power of market research. You start working on something and people don't like it. Market research means you can get out of there with a minimum loss because you've seen, okay, we made 5 pages. People didn't like those 5 pages. All right, that's it. Let's go make a different thing that people might like better. That's not to say that you shouldn't pursue passion projects, but you should be aware that it's a passion project and not necessarily that market research thing that people are going to want to buy 15 copies of. So you can take advantage of crowdfunding. It has a lot of possibilities. There's a huge possibility space to explore for the advantages it can give you, for the things you can leverage from crowdfunding. But it takes more to do than just putting a campaign up and hoping that it fulfills, whatever, succeeds, funds, the right words there. You got to put in the effort. That means you got to market on Twitter. You got to market on Instagram. You got to send out emails to people. You got to badger your friends so that they go tell their friends. You got to get that whole thing going. You got to make YouTube videos. You got to run streams. You got to get on other people's streams to talk about it. It's a full-time job doing marketing. It's one of the hard things about creation, is when you're doing this and you don't have a big corporation backing you up with a marketing department, guess what? It falls upon you, the creator, to leverage the tools at your disposal to do the things you want. Me? I'm just a guy who makes stupid videos on YouTube for fun. But other people have real goals with what they're working on. And they need to go into this stuff aware that it's gonna be a lot of work. And it's not gonna all be the work they expect. If you're the writer, guess what? A lot of your work is not sitting down and just writing the book. A lot of your work is going to be talking to other people about the book, reaching out to your artists, reaching out to the printer. Like, that's typically how this kind of stuff goes. You got to wear like 17 different hats, work a lot, put in a lot of work. But if you do it right, you can give people an unforgettable experience. You can forge new bonds. You can get new people who are going to be customers of yours going forward based on the strength of those first 2 things. You can use your tools to gauge whether people are interested in the thing you're making, and if they are, you can sell like gangbusters. That's it. That's all I got to say. You all have a great one. And if you're interested in making comic books, be aware that while there are some big outliers out there that make a lot of money, most campaigns don't. And if you're just a writer and not an artist, you're going to have a heck of a hard time. Because that money is pretty scarce. You all take care of yourselves. You have a great day, great night, great whatever you got going on. Hope to see you again next time. Till then, bye-bye.